So even though you weren't continuing your blockchain dreams, it was probably a great use of your time and a great place to be, and you're collaborating with some of the best people in the world.
Yeah, and you have to, we haven't talked about it because I like the puzzle, right? I'm a puzzle person. I like solving hard problems. And that really drove me to the self-driving car. But there's another angle, which is the impact. And mind you, I do think that finance, some people look at it and say, oh, it's a zero-sum game. I don't look at it like this. I think having liquid secondary markets is super important for growth, for the economy, for prosperity. So
for human involvement, right?
I do believe that, including high-frequency trading, you're making the world a better place. And some people might think I'm being sarcastic here, but no, I genuinely mean it. But the impact, I would say, of self-driving cars is a lot more tangible. There's just so many people dying in road accidents. For, if you're an adult, if you're not elderly, it's probably your main cause of death.
Right, it's that high, isn't it?
Yeah, it's incredibly.
It's like alcohol,
high.
Smoking, car accidents. Or
I think
something.
Suicides as well are going to be very high, but.
Right.
Yeah, so car accident is just incredibly high, and that can go away. That can go away with self-driving cars. So the impact, just in terms of human lives, is insanely high.
Yeah, I agree with what you said about finance, but I'll come to that. To wrap up self-driving cars, where is that industry? Where do you think it's going? It's complicated, isn't it? Self-driving cars, more complicated than people realize, right?
It's very complicated, and like many things, it's one of these things where you get to 99%, and it feels like you're 99% there, and then the last 1% is harder than the first 99%.
And that's everything, right?
It's just getting to the smallest corner and the smallest details. Because if you want to compete with the average driver, it's not too bad. You look at how many times, how many miles an average driver has an accident, and I think the number could be completely off. Offhand, I think I remember it's like every million miles you have a fatal accident. But I could be off by orders of magnitude. That's just like out of memory. But that's the average driver. You don't want to be like the average driver, because the average driver includes a bunch of drunkards. So you want to be like the average diligent driver.
Right.
And the average diligent driver who's paying attention to the road, is not texting, is not drunk, is actually quite good. So getting to that level is really, really hard. You're getting into very, very rare situations. So even as you've covered most things, it's really hard. And you'll see sometimes there's a startup that come out and they have this video of a car driving on a road and so on and so forth, and like, oh my God, they're already here. But getting to that baseline is actually quite easy, especially with the AI tool that exists nowadays. Right. Getting to the point where you're going to need, you're going to deal with. There's an early TED talk, I think, by one of the lead engineers, I think now the CEO for Waymo, who's talking about the situations where you have this lady on a wheelchair chasing a goose or a duck with a broom in the middle of an intersection.
Wow.
So you have to deal with
like the worst case
this
scenario.
type of situation. And actually the car handles it. You'd be surprised, but most of the time just stopping is a pretty good policy.
Yeah.
You stop, you wait. You can't do that all the time, of course, otherwise your car is going to be stuck. But it works. So just dealing with all of these edge cases, it's a massive endeavor. And I think it's growing, and clearly it hasn't come at the pace that people were expecting.
Yeah. Same as you, not the pace you expected, or did you?
No. I was more hopeful that he would go faster.
Yeah.
And there are cities where you find those services, and I'm still 100% convinced that it's going to come. But it's definitely going to be a longer journey that I would say what people imagined 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
Okay. Has Tesla solved the self-driving problem, or do they just have the best marketing because it works to a certain degree on cars that are on the road, whereas maybe Google X doesn't have those use cases?
Yeah. So I'm skeptical of their approach, but first of all, the fact that they limit themselves to using like cameras as opposed to using LiDARs, it's just, your life is so much better with a LiDAR. If you can see everyone around at 150 meters, why would you just rely on cameras? And the LiDARs are not even that expensive.
Okay.
And I feel like a lot of it for Tesla is because they've made this promise that they'll be able to retrofit the older cars, but I feel like it's hindering them to be relying on this. I think using end-to-end AI as opposed to, and I don't know that they're using it, but it feels, at least from their communication, that's what they're talking about, as opposed to having a more structured approach, I think make it harder to verify and to get comfortable with the safety of the software. Now, that being said, there's a quote, I think, by Peter Thiel, which is like, I don't understand why people would take any bet against Elon Musk. And so I don't want to bet against a guy. So even if I look at Tesla, the stock, and I say this is this is overvalued, I am not going to short it. I'm just going to stay out of it. And I feel like intellectually, I also don't want to take a position. I'm kind of skeptical, but I'm not going to bet against it.
Yeah.
Just going to stay out of it because I don't know.